No.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
And we're back like we never left. It is Dynamics on the Hardwood. I am Live Zone as always, and I am here with my co-host Mazzi. Mazzi, how you doing today?
What's good? Happy to be here. NBA talk. Give me a break from football for a minute.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, a lot of trades happening. We're going to head right into the first trade. As you know, the trade deadline is coming up. And the first thing that we have to look at is Bradley Beal and the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns trying to move on from Bradley Beal, but he has a no trades clause, and the only team that he really wants to go to is the Los Angeles Lakers. Mozzie, how you feeling about this? Do you think the Lakers could be a contender with Beal? And what does this look like for the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot to unpack here, but straight off the bat, no, don't do this, Los Angeles Lakers. Do not put this man on your team. That's first and foremost. Uh, you have I believe the Lakers need a piece, okay? I want to touch on that later in this episode, but the Lakers, what they have right now is they have um, a team that they need to decide whether they're playing for fun or are they trying to make a championship run here, okay? They have the veteran players on the team and they have the dynamic young talent as well. They don't have a pure scorer to take the load off of LeBron and AD in the long run of these playoffs. So a person like a Bradley Beal would be a perfect person to bring in there. But I don't think Bradley Beal is the person to get it done. Okay, he got his contract, he got his money. Nobody's really going to pay that same price for him anywhere remotely close to it. He has been, in my eyes, he doesn't even seem to enjoy playing basketball or seem like he's putting out all his effort on the court. He's kind of just showing up, uh, walking the walk and talking, not really talking the talk at all. But as far as his contract with the Phoenix Suns, I think it's smart if the Suns deal him wherever they can deal him. I just don't think there's a big market for a Bradley Beal these days. I just don't think his energy, how he carries himself, or what baggage comes with having to pay him for not producing or producing. End of the day, you have to pay the man, is not good for any team. I think the Lakers again need somebody that I want to touch on later on in this episode, but Lakers, stay away from Bradley Beal. Suns, get rid of Bradley Beal. And Bradley Beal, just keep doing you because you're going to get paid for a few more years no matter what.
Yeah, no, definitely. I understand where you're coming at completely with the Bradley Beal situation. Listen, Bradley Beal was great on the Washington Wizards when he was playing with Russell Westbrook. He had probably his best year in his career with Russell Westbrook on his team. Not the only person to do that, but we will touch on that a little bit later. Um, but also when he was with John Wall, he was a big piece to get that Washington Wizards team to the playoffs and almost surpassed the Boston Celtics when they had Isaiah Thomas and more. So, I mean, Looking at it, yes, Bradley Beal can be a great piece to a Los Angeles Lakers team, but I think that there's other places that Phoenix want him to go to that he's saying, "Hey, listen, I got to know on my trades clause. I don't want to go there. I don't want to be playing in Miami. I don't want to be playing in a Houston Rockets uniform. I want to win a championship, and my best place to go win a championship is the Los Angeles Lakers," which is 110% true. I agree with that 110% because if you look at the other teams, a Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat is not going to make a run for a title going against teams like the Boston Celtics and teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers and teams like, if you get past the Eastern Conference, teams like the OKC Thunder and even the Dallas Mavericks. You're not going to see that happen with Bradley Beal as your best player on the team. So, yes, 110%. I agree with you. Lakers, stay away from Bradley Beal. I know you're hesitant towards it because he's a star and because he's been in a place where he can go out and get a bucket for you, but at the end of the day, he's just not your guy because he only wants to play 40 games a year and get his paycheck. So, 110% I agree. If Bradley Beal does not end up in the Lakers uniform, where do you think he will end up?
True. I don't know what team would be willing to pull the trigger. I mean, no, these owners and coaches aren't dumb in this league, okay? So I nobody wants to pick up that contract. And if he wants to go somewhere, there's probably a reason why he wants to go there. So you need to read in between the lines of everything and understand why he's coming there. He's probably not coming there with the best intentions to win a championship. That's not who the guy is. He's steadily made more money every single year that he's been in the league. From when he came in to now, he makes more money each year. That's his goal in the league. There's no rings to be had with him.
Yeah, I 110% agree. Um, and then the other question that I have is knowing that Phoenix Suns want to deal him to Miami for Jimmy Butler in some way, shape, or form, with that not happening because of the no on the trades clause, do you see them moving on from another piece like a Kevin Durant or Devin Booker to go get Jimmy Butler?
Realistically, no, not at all. I think there's other options on the table and other traits that can be manufactured, and a player come into a Phoenix Suns organization that doesn't blow up the roster of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I don't know what kind of value these days. Kevin Durant, don't get me wrong, still him, but I don't know what kind of value he's bringing in as a number one guy or even a number two. He's more of a almost a pure and best number three in the league. And Devin Booker has proven that he can be streaky, but he can't lead a team to that promised land. So he's looking like a number two. So they really Phoenix needs a number one. I don't think Jimmy Butler at this stage in his career is a number one either. I think Jimmy Butler wants to go to a team where he's the second or third guy to complement what's already there. So I think if the Suns made that move, they'd be thinking the right way, but I don't think anybody on that team with Booker, Jimmy, and Durant would step up and be that number one and be able to be it the whole time. You'd have to confide in one, then once they're dried, confide in the next, and just hope that all the games line up perfectly that you make it. So realistically, like a maybe a De'Aaron Fox to Phoenix would be a nice move, where he could be a number one and have two lethal shooters on his left and right to pick it up when he's off. That's a much better situation for them.
Yeah, well, nah, that actually is a fair point because of what Sacramento is going through. Kind of, we're going to be talking about that in a little bit here, but you were talking about Jimmy Butler and how you don't think he's a number one star anymore. I don't know if I agree with that, but let's head over to Jimmy Butler and his trade odds. Where will he end up? There's a few teams that are looking at him right now. Well, I got three teams for or four teams for you. I got the Golden State Warriors, trying to trade some of their young pieces to get a guy like Jimmy Butler so Jimmy Butler can be like that Kevin Durant type player for them. I also have the Phoenix Suns with their situation. We know that that's probably not going to happen, even though that's really where Jimmy Butler wants to be. And then the other two teams that are kind of dark horses in this whole thing are the Houston Rockets with their young core and what they got going on. They could make a move for a guy like Jimmy Butler to be your number one star. And then the other team is the Denver Nuggets that I'm reading up on. They're trying to move away from Michael Porter Jr. They're trying to see what they can get out of it, and that trade dynamic is also there as well. So with all those places, where are we going to see Jimmy Butler end up, and why do you think that?
Well, where is different than what I think. What I think would be the best situation and best landing place for Jimmy Butler at this time would be a Golden State. I mean, you have your Steph Curry, who's the number one guy till he's out the league on that team. You have the young pieces around them. You still have that force of Draymond Green, what energy he brings. Maybe not the production as usual, still right around getting those double doubles and whatnot. But Jimmy Butler complements that perfectly. He could still drive. He could still keep it. He could still drive. He could still keep it going. He could still shoot. He's still on point. I don't think he's that number one, like I said before. I don't think he wants to be that number one. I don't think he wants to carry the entire load. And I think Golden State's the most complete team that he could go to at this point, realistically, and would be willing to go to. And I think it's a great fit. Coach wise, team wise, energy wise, what Jimmy Butler brings to the table wise, the fan base wise out in Golden State, I think that's the best landing spot for Jimmy Butler. What about you?
So I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I understand why you said this. I understand why Golden State's dynamic would be good for Jimmy Butler and everything like that with the Bay Area and the fan base and having Steph Curry right next to you, one of the best to ever do it. But I'm gonna look the other way. I'm gonna look at one of the dark horses, and I'm gonna look at the Denver Nuggets. Now, this is an interesting dynamic because either way, you're still gonna end up with Jokic and Murray on the same team. So if you add a guy like Jimmy Butler to that, and you already have Aaron Gordon, and you have Russell Westbrook, so you can have that 1-2 dynamic with Russell Westbrook and Jamal Murray, and then after that, you could play Christian Braun at the two. It looks like that's really the spot where Jimmy Butler should be if he wants to win a championship. Denver Nuggets have won a championship already. We saw what they could do with the likes of a guy like Jeff Green, like Caldwell Pope, like Reggie Jackson, like all these different guys that really benefited from playing next to Jokic and Jamal Murray. I think Jimmy Butler is one of those guys. Jimmy Butler can go out and get a 3-point shot when you need it. He can drive to the lane when you need it. And then, oh, there's that alley oop right there to Aaron Gordon. I just like the dynamic in Denver. I like the coaching staff in Denver. I know a lot of people might hate on me for saying this, and it's going to be a very hot take, but I don't think Steve Kerr is the greatest coach of all time or even near that. I think he's just in the right place at the right time next to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I really think that Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, the names that have been on that team really made his dynamic easier for him to win championships. And he said, okay, well, I was on a team with Michael Jordan, so let's just run the triangle offense where Steph Curry just keeps on running around and getting the ball and shooting the. It's a whole dynamic there with Steph Curry. I think that Steve Kerr is a great coach because of Steph Curry. We saw what Steve Kerr couldn't do with Steve Nash in the Phoenix Suns a few years before he was the Golden State Warriors coach. So for that reason, I like what I'm seeing in Denver. I like the move in Denver. They need to move away from Michael Porter Jr. because Michael Porter Jr. is really looking like that star, like a James Harden star where he needs the ball in his hands all the time, and you need the ball in Jokic and Jamal Murray's hands. I think Jimmy Butler can go out and win 1 or 2 championships with these two guys and with the coaching staff. and with the supporting cast as well that they are also building, because there are a lot of young players that are on that team that are just moving up every single year to the point where they're going to have like 9 people deep, and we're going to be looking at the Denver Nuggets again like, yo, what happened? So I like the Denver Nuggets side. It's a sneaky pick, but realistically, I think the place that he will end up is where he wants to be, and that's the Phoenix Suns. I feel like they're going to get it done some way, somehow, and Jimmy Butler will be a part of the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant.
So
It's
you
just what
think
I see.
Jimmy will be on the team when Bradley Beal is still there?
I don't know
Because
what they're
there's
going
no
to.
way Pat Riley is paying that money. He's not
No,
going to
no,
pay
no.
Jimmy. He's not going to pay for Bradley Beal.
He almost paid Bradley Beal a few years back. It's just that Phoenix gave him a better deal by partnering him up with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, where Miami didn't really have that type of cast back then. So he
Right, but
almost
this
did.
is now, and
Yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah.
guaranteed money, and this is not the production you're getting from it, and you're coming off not wanting to pay somebody who actually wants to be in Miami too, and is capable of doing the same thing that Bradley Beal is doing.
Yeah, no, I understand 110%. I think Bradley Beal will still be there. I think realistically, they're talking about blowing up the team so many times this year. We've seen trade rumors with Kevin Durant. We've seen trade rumors with Bradley Beal. We've seen trade rumors with Nurkic, and now we're seeing them with Devin Booker and everybody else as well. There's a lot of pieces that could be moved from the Phoenix Suns that we're not even thinking about. There's a lot of teams that will be like, give me a Kevin Durant and I'll give you 4 draft picks in the future for first rounders. And if you see that, they're going to take it because they want to move on from the old team that they have and make a young core out of it. That's what Phoenix has always been. That's what they've always done. They have always wanted to be a young team that prospered in the playoffs with one of their star players that they organically came up with. And that's the reason why they have Devin Booker right now. So if you see a trade with Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant and there's a few picks that are mix and match there, it could end up happening as well. But I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen with Jimmy Butler. There's three-way trades that could be happening with Jimmy Butler right now that we still haven't even talked about, but they're out there. So we're not going to know until the trade deadline realistically happens. But as of right now, Miami hasn't gotten any calls where they said, "All right, yeah, we'll give you Jimmy Butler." They haven't gotten those calls yet that they thought was good enough for a trade for Miami to be like, "Yeah, we'll do that." So you could even see Jimmy Butler still in the Miami uniform by the trade deadline. There's no guarantee.
I don't think that one's gonna happen though.
I don't realistically think it's going to happen either. But there is a possibility.
There's always a chance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we got more coming to you, but first we're gonna give you an ad from our guys at Atlanta Seafood and Steaks. If you haven't tried them yet, go check them out. Steaks are huge. They're really good. And yeah, we'll be right back. We're back. Oh, and we're back like we never left. It is Dynamics on the Hardwood. We are here talking to you about some trades in the NBA trade deadline. We're also going to get into who's really the best team in the NBA pretty soon here. So that one's going to be fun as well. But before we get into any of that, we have to talk about what Sacramento is doing. It looks like we're seeing the old Sacramento come into the future and screw up the team again. Few weeks ago, firing 2 years ago, coach of the year, Mike Brown, and then after that, wanting to go and blow up their whole entire team, trying to get rid of DeMar DeRozan that they just signed to a contract, and getting rid of their franchise point guard in De'Aaron Fox. Mazzi, what do you take from this, and why do you think that this is happening in Sacramento?
I have no idea why this is happening in Sacramento. I can't tell you. I think adding another piece would be a possible solution because I don't think with the talent they have they're championship bound, unfortunately. But I think adding another piece to this would have been a solution, not blowing up and saying let's restart this. Uh, I have no idea what they're thinking to do it. I really don't have an explanation. I do have an explanation for what De'Aaron Fox should do. De'Aaron Fox should get on out of Sacramento and hop on down, stay in California, and link up with LeBron and AD on the LA Lakers, okay? Because that would be a sight to see, okay? Take the pressure off LeBron and AD, put a pure point scorer, put Austin Reeves where you want. You can have him back it up, or you can have De'Aaron Fox coming off the bench. Sounds crazy to me. But realistically, throw him on that team. Lakers are in a 6 spot right now, 4 games out of a 2 slot. The length of the season times out. De'Aaron Fox having the good games when Braun and AD aren't. When they all have a good game, it's not even close. And when De'Aaron has an off game, it's up to Braun and AD to get it done. Like my chances with that LA Lakers. I have no idea what DeMar DeRozan is thinking at this point. I mean, he might even be thinking about the big R retirement at this point with what's going down in Sacramento. And then shout out my guy Malik Monk. I love the way he plays and drives to the hole. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I think he's ready to dip out. If the Aaron Fox goes, he's out for sure. Firing the coach. How do you fire the coach 2 years after Coach of the Year? I don't know. He hasn't. It's not like they missed the playoffs last year. So what are we doing? What are we
Yeah.
doing, Liza? What do you think they're doing?
I personally don't know. I mean, we've seen the Sacramento Kings make some really bad decisions in the past. Getting rid of DeMarcus Cousins, trading Jason Williams for Mike Bibby, not signing or trading away Chris Webber. I forget which one happened. But there's a lot of things that the Sacramento Kings have done that it's like you had it. You were this close. So it doesn't make sense to me why they go out and fire the coach of the year 2 years ago to begin with. I mean, Mike Brown, he is a well-known NBA coach, and he loved being in Sacramento because of what the Sacramento fans brought and because of what their team was bringing in every night in that stadium. So it doesn't make sense to me why they're trying to move on and why they're trying to rebuild after they just gave DeMar DeRozan a contract and now a half of a year in, you want to be like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna trade him. Actually, we're gonna trade him at the trade deadline because we're not doing as well as we want to. Doesn't make sense. You brought in one of the best small forwards in the league, and you expect your team to just yep, we're a championship contender. No, it's going to take years to build a championship pedigree. You have to lose in the playoffs. You have to grind in the playoffs. You have to build chemistry. These are the things that the Sacramento Kings don't know how to do. They're there, and then after that, they disappoint everybody and trade everybody away. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, the one thing I will say is that Brandon Ingram to the Sacramento Kings for DeMar DeRozan does not sound like a bad idea. But at the end of the day, you just paid this man. What was the point of paying this man if you were just going to trade him a half of a year in? It doesn't make sense. So I don't know what the Sacramento Kings are doing. De'Aaron Fox, please, for the love of God, get out of Sacramento.
For
Go to
real.
Houston. Go to Houston, please. Just
For
go
real.
go somewhere. Houston is one part, like one piece away from being a championship contender. You got Sengun. You might have Michael Porter Jr. at the end of it. You got Jalen Green. You got what could be De'Aaron Fox. You got Dylan Brooks, which is an annoying piece of crap on the floor, but he gets the job done. So there's a lot of things that could happen in this scenario with De'Aaron Fox. He could go to a New Orleans Pelicans. He could go to a Houston Rockets. He could go to an LA Lakers. Hell, this is the one that I laughed at. We could see the Sacramento Kings go out and trade De'Aaron Fox for Chris Paul in the first round draft pick. Which, if we see De'Aaron Fox and Wembanyama on the same team, that's wraps. It's gone. Like the whole Western Conference is in trouble at that point. But I don't personally know what Sacramento is doing. I love Sacramento because of the stars that they produce. They produce Tyrese Halliburton. They produced De'Aaron Fox. They produced Buddy Hield. They produced Chris Webber. They produced Mike Bibby. They produced Hito Turkoglu. They produce so many stars, but then they give them up off of a trade that is it's like it ruins the team. So for me, Sacramento, I was talking about how you were going to be one of the teams that was going to be hard to face in the playoffs. But because of your management and what your management is doing to your team, you might as well just go down to the worst team in the league and get the first draft pick at this point. So,
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, preach.
yeah. So we got more for you guys here, talking about one more trade before we get into really who is the best team in the NBA. We're gonna be talking about Zion, but not just Zion because I couldn't fit it onto the board here, as you can see. But we're also gonna be talking about Brandon Ingram here. What's the dynamic like in New Orleans? Do you think it's worth it to stay there? Do you think it's worth it to build there? Are we going to see Brandon Ingram be like a Kobe Bryant guy where he stays there and stays loyal? Or are we going to see Brandon Ingram out? Are we going to see Zion be the savior of the New Orleans Pelicans like he was supposed to be? Or is he really just a third option on a team that only plays 45 to 60 games a year?
Well, Zion at this point, uh, if they're gonna deal him, I don't know who's gonna buy it. It's kind of a Bradley Beal situation for me. The dude's injured more than he plays. He's never, when he is on the court, he truly is dominant, but who knows how long he's gonna stay healthy on the court. Realistically, I have an interesting tr three-way trade proposal, maybe with Miami and Jimmy Butler and Zion ending up in Miami because Pat Riley would be getting Zion at the end of his contract where he could pay him around 50% or 60% of the money that the Pelicans have been paying him over the past 2, 3 years, which would be a lucrative deal for him. Put Zion over there. If he pans out, he pans out. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Looking at the Brandon Ingram side of things, that's the interesting side of things. It really comes down to him as a person. Personally, if it were me, I've built a whole family, I've built a community, I've been there for so long. It's what I love, what I do. Am I willing to trade that just for a championship? What does that mean to me? Was my life of basketball for a championship or was it for the life I wanted? That's the choice it comes down to for Brandon Ingram at the end of the day. Seems like a guy who's going to choose his family where he is and what he's doing more than chasing a ring, and that's nothing to badmouth this guy or talk down to him at all. I respect that fully. Some people are in it because it's a livelihood at the end of the day. It's a National Basketball Association. They get paid millions of dollars to train as hard, if not harder than anybody else in the world, to show up day in, day out and play their games, act accordingly, be role models in the community, be role models everywhere. I think he's just satisfied with where basketball has taken him, and I don't think he'll be leaving New Orleans.
That's surprising with all the trade rumors with Brandon Ingram right now. It really just looks like New Orleans is one of those other teams that have produced stars that just give up on their stars midway through their career. But Brandon Ingram, the other, we talked about teams that, want to land another star. I've seen OKC Thunder trades for him. I've seen the Denver Nuggets as well with him, and I saw Sacramento. Now, the funny thing is Zion and Brandon Ingram are both in the trade rumors to get out of the New Orleans Pelicans uh, game or teams. So could we see a Sacramento trading Domantas Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan for Zion and Brandon Ingram? Now, how would that look? Keeping De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk on that wing side for Sacramento, does that change anything for the Sacramento team?
I don't think I don't think moving pieces from one team to the other, but keeping the same pieces together is going to solve any problems. So you still have Zion's injuries. You still like they haven't produced in the past. What makes me think they're going to produce in the future on a level of winning championships or winning games in the playoffs? They've barely, let alone made the playoffs these times. So what am I expecting? At least De'Aaron and Malik by themselves have made the playoffs, and adding DeMar DeRozan has only elevated them a little more. I think that's a regression for the Sacramento Kings. I think that would be an improvement for the New Orleans Pelicans, but I don't think that's I think that's a one-sided deal at the end of the day. And maybe if you structure it in a different way, I really don't think Zion's the key. If Brandon Ingram is willing to go somewhere, I think you throw Brandon Ingram up there. Maybe you can deal De'Aaron Fox and get two pieces for De'Aaron Fox and end up with a full starting five up there in Sacramento that you really love. That would be an option for me. Maybe grab Ingram from over here. I don't know what other pieces you're looking at, but that could be a realistic option.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Zion really having those trade rumors to the LA Lakers the same way that Mr. Anthony Davis had those trade rumors to the LA Lakers. Now, we saw a few teams get involved in the Anthony Davis trade rumors, like the Boston Celtics and the OKC Thunder, and I'm pretty sure the Memphis Grizzlies was part of or maybe not Memphis. It was another team that was like Memphis that were in those trade rumors late in the Anthony Davis trade rumors. We are now seeing Zion have these trade rumors as well, but it's with teams that want to trade, like the Houston Rockets, the Denver Nuggets, and the LA Lakers. Where do we see Zion being at the end of the trade deadline? You said that you mentioned a three-way trade for Zion to go to Miami. I want to know where are the pieces moving?
Well, just like I said, I think he's going to Miami. I don't know what much more you want with me. I don't know the third team that's going to be involved in the situation, but all I know is I think Pat Riley would love to get the best bang for his buck and maybe take a little risk on Zion more than he would be willing to pay Jimmy Butler late in his career. So that's why I'm liking that move. It might be the best option on the table as far as free agent wise, taking a chance and having it work out. I mean, most of the players, you know what you're going to get from them, okay? You know the value that you're going to get, or you know the value that you're not going to get. There's not too many players where you're like, this is year 6, 7, or 8 for this player, and we don't know if they're going to go this way or this way, and it all depends on what the future holds. So, are we willing to take a risk on it? Miami giving up Jimmy, like where are they going to be without Jimmy? They're not going to be anywhere near competing for a championship or second or third round in the playoffs at all. So why not take a risk while you're trying to sort everything out? That's a perfect scenario for him down there. Plus, pretty close to New Orleans. Also, not a far move for him. Also, who doesn't like Miami in the NBA? So it's always a destination for anybody. Looking at it for other teams, I don't know. I don't know what other team might be involved in this. There are plenty of options. There's 4 or 5 teams. I mean, there's plenty of teams that need players and need to switch things around. We could see multiple of these teams interested. Then you could see a three-way trade with the Lakers, Miami, and New Orleans. You could see a three-way trade with Phoenix, Miami, and New Orleans. You could see a three-way trade with Sacramento, Miami, and New Orleans. Like there's a cast of different players that can go to different positions and people that can go to different teams. But end of the day, I do think Zion ends up in Miami.
Now, the last question I have for you before we get into Viva is: do you think that we could possibly see Zion and Ingram both go to Miami in a huge trade for like Jimmy Butler and a few other pieces?
Yeah, that's where the three-way comes in for me because it's like I don't think Jimmy Butler wants to end up in New Orleans. That's not where Jimmy wants to go. So if they're gonna give a Zion and Ingram for a Butler, and I don't know what this team's trying to do out there, if they're trying to give up a Bam, a hero, what are they trying to do with this? But if you send this could be a possible move. You never know about this. You send it to Phoenix. Phoenix might deal out some picks or some up and coming players with the Bradley Beal to New Orleans. New Orleans takes a risk with the Bradley Beal contract. Then Zion and Ingram go over to Miami for those other people. Could be something you see. Could be another one with the like I was saying with the Sacramento. You could throw I think it's going to be 3 teams. I don't think any of these teams have straight up access to swap with one another because it's either too tight of a pinch or not just not enough for 'em. So it's like you get a De'Aaron Fox. What if you saw a De'Aaron Fox and a Jimmy Butler link up in Phoenix and a Devin Booker getting moved to in New Orleans and linking up with, or to Sacramento and linking up with DeMar and Ingram. Like, what if you saw that move? Like, there's a lot of different ways you could go about thinking this out because I don't think any of these players are also off the table for negotiation. I don't think any of them are.
Now, for the last thing that I have for you is we're talking about a big city in Miami. Here's the question that I know a lot of the fans want to hear because they really wanted to draft him and to begin with. Could we possibly see Zion in a New York Knicks uniform with Karl Anthony Towns and Brunson?
I haven't explored that option. I have no idea.
I mean, realistically, all the fans want Zion to come to New York. If you're in New York and everything like that, you wanted to draft him, the same way you wanted to get Donovan Mitchell and everything. Kind of the same hype there. I think it could possibly happen with the assets that they have, like a Josh Hart, OG Anunoby type deal, with maybe like a second rounder for Zion and swap second round picks. It could end up happening. But that's just another thing to think about for the Zion trade. There's a lot of trades that could happen. Trade deadline is coming up soon. We are heading towards the NBA All-Star break. So if you haven't bet for your All-Stars in a few years or whatever, there's a lot of things to look out for. New players on new teams that will be coming before all this stuff happens. So we'll be right back because we're going to head into who's the best team in the NBA. But before that, we got a nice Viva commercial here for you.
Jared, hey, we're gonna need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
That's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
And we are back once again here for you. Just wanted to say thank you to all of our sponsors. We got Sports Revolt over here. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. We also got Food Truck Festivals of America, Viva Tequila, as well as Atlanta Seafood and Steaks. Got a lot of things coming with those guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But now that we're back, we're going to head into a little talk that we talked about a few weeks ago. We thought that it was a clear sight on who the best NBA team was this year, heading into what we are at now. Mazzi, has your pick for the best NBA team changed since the last time that we talked about it?
No, not at all. Boston Celtics are still the team to beat in the NBA, no matter what anybody has to say. Fun fact, the Boston Celtics have only missed the playoffs 17 times out of 78 seasons, which is crazy. Um, but also, let's look at some facts again. The Celtics shooting this season 36.6% from three-pointer. What did they shoot last year from three-pointer? 38.8, about 39%, 3% more. I equivalent that to one or two threes more a game. Making. All right. 8 of the 10 losses for the Celtics on the year have come by less than 6 points, 6 points or less. That's two three-pointers. So, what does that mean? The Celtics could have only 2 losses on the year if they're shooting the percentage from their championship year. Who's got the championship pedigree? Who's got the deepest team in the East? Celtics, the Celtics. The Cavs, ultimately, this run is going to end of their team. I know it. There's injuries coming down the line, and there's just hurdles that are coming. Okay. Come playoffs, I've said this before, you look at a 7-game series in the Boston Celtics going up against you. I'm putting my money on that they win 4 games before they lose 4 games. They're not going to go on a cold streak for 4 games in a row in a series of 7 games. Okay, they're gonna get theirs where they get it. They're going to make the threes. If they're going out there each game and just shooting 60 threes, I bet 4 out of those 7 games they make above 30 threes and they win the game. Okay.
All right. There's a lot to unpack there. Yes, I agree with you that the Boston Celtics are one of the best teams right now. I think, the second best team in the Eastern Conference. I'm gonna throw a team out there to you that nobody's really thinking about right now because they don't have the likes of LeBron James or Kyrie Irving anymore. I'm going to throw you the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers, two big men. I'm not going to even talk about the wings. We know what Darius Garland can do. We know what Donovan Mitchell can do. They're going to get 20 and 8 a night or whatever it is that they get. Although Donovan Mitchell just had a very bad game, but this is the point that I'm telling you. Donovan Mitchell doesn't have to go out and be the best star on the team, the same way Jason Tatum doesn't have to be the best star in the Celtics every night. I'm looking at the guys that really impact everything that we're seeing this season in the NBA. I'm talking about Jarrett Allen and I'm talking about Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley is 110% the best piece on this Cleveland Cavaliers team. He is lengthy, he can shoot the ball, he can drive, he's got a good dribble. Unlike Jaylen Brown, I should probably mention that because of Jaylen Brown's turnovers. I'm looking at this as, listen, we saw the Celtics get their championship. We knew that this was coming. How much more does Jaylen Brown have in the tank? Because we know what's going to happen with Tatum in the playoffs. Tatum ends up having a 50-point game, and then after that falls short. That's what we've seen from Jason Tatum in the playoffs the last 4 years that we've seen him in a Boston Celtics uniform. And when playoffs comes, he's like Tracy McGrady. He's not the best, but he's not the worst. And that's what I'm looking at with a guy like Donovan Mitchell that turns up in the playoffs. Now, listen, I understand what you're saying because we didn't get to see Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs against the Boston Celtics last season because he ended up getting injured against I'm pretty sure it was the New York Knicks last season. So we didn't really know what we were going to get from the Cleveland Cavaliers, but we knew if Donovan Mitchell was playing that it was going to be a harder series than we thought. And now this season, he's healthy, and they're having one of the best years that a Cleveland Cavaliers team like this could have. They're 32-4, really on pace for a one hell of a season. Really looking like they're only going to lose 10 games this season. And 19-1 at home, 13-3 away. It's better numbers than the Boston Celtics right now when it comes to record wise. Record wise, the Celtics are 5 games behind. So that's the reason why I'm saying, yes, agree with you. They have the championship pedigree, 110%. There's no other team that really has the same championship pedigree that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have. But in past years, we've seen guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like Jason Tatum, like Jaylen Brown really show up in these playoffs and gain that championship pedigree. I think we're going to see something like that from a guy like Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley. So for me, I'm saying that the Cleveland Cavaliers are the best team in the NBA as of right now. Now, a lot could change with injuries and everything like that. Like you said, it could happen. But it could also happen on Boston's way too, because if they lose a key piece like Derek White, then the Boston Celtics are going to be in trouble.
Talk to me when we're about to start the playoffs, because it's
we,
not sustainable for the entire year. We're not even at the All-Star break. The Celtics, if you look at it, I'm probably putting Cleveland 4.
who are you putting over Cleveland?
I'm putting Celtics, Thunder, and I'm putting. I don't know if I'm gonna put them. I'll throw them 3.
Thunder just got shut down by the Cleveland Cavaliers last night.
It's fine. It's all good. It's all good.
We shall see
It's
what
the LeBron
happens.
curse.
We
All
shall
right.
see what happens. There's a lot of things that could happen still in this season. But as always, I'm Live Zone. You can find me here every 4 days a week, really, on East Coast Sports Investors, as well as you can find me on X at real_live zone. You can find me on TikTok at live_zone_himself. And you can find me on Instagram as official.livezone. Mazzi, you want to throw where you're at?
You can catch me on X at Maserati1. I'm here on East Coast Sports Investors 2-3 times a week. We're always behind the scenes doing stuff, so reach out. And as always,
Stay tuned.
stay tuned.